What is happening, y'all? So the Game Awards 2024 just wrapped up, but there is one trailer that I wanted to call attention to more than any other. Sit back and let this play. It's the fourth time watching it, and I'm still noticing new things I didn't see before.
Of redemption, you were chosen, thrown together by forces beyond their control. Tragedy must be averted. And for that, I need your help.
Stand tall. The night is far from over.
And this game.
Little pillager, bent on stacking the lands of gold. I will swat away any and all who dare approach.
Band together and prepare to claim. The life of the Night Lord.
Elden Ring Nightreign. Now this was something that came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody expected something else building on the world of Elden Ring. This is coming out this year as well, which was incredibly surprising. But let's talk about what the game is. Now, I do want to do a full breakdown of the trailer, but before we get into that, let's jump into some other stuff. So this is the basic Bandai Namco site, Elden Ring Nightreign. First thing I want to point out is the genre, co-op action survival. So this is not meant to be a Souls-like in the traditional sense that we know. This is going to be a lot closer to, you know, it's going to still have obviously that challenging difficulty and the punishing nature that we know of these games, but it's going to be very, very different than anything we've experienced before in that FromSoft catalog. Nightreign is a standalone adventure within the Elden Ring universe, crafted to bring a new gaming experience. So we're looking at a standalone game, not an expansion. It just happens to be set in the Elden Ring universe. Rise together, join forces with other players, and take on the creeping night and the dangers within, featuring 3-player co-op. Become a hero. Take command of uniquely skilled heroes, each possessing their own abilities and distinct flair. While individually powerful, their skills grow even more formidable when united as a team. And take on the night. Overcome a relentless environmental threat that sweeps through a land that changes between each game session, and defeat the magnificent boss of that night. Sounds a lot like a roguelike, doesn't it? We got some absolutely sick concept art here. Really like the witch one. They always just put out some of the best concept art. Look at that guy. You know he's gonna be crazy. Very This is clearly round table hold, but we have a kind of a firekeeper type figure. Now that doesn't tell us too much, but if we go over to the nightrain.eldenring.jp site, there's a little bit more that we can learn. We got a director interview released, which we'll get to that. And then over here, we have Elden Ring Night Reign announced. This shows off the trailer. Scrolling through here, we have a couple different things. This is an action game in which you take on overwhelming situations together with other players. In this title, which has been reconstructed with completely different game design while retaining some of the enemies, weapons, and other elements of Elden Ring, players will control characters with different personalities and take on new threats. And then there's 3 entries for Survive, World, and Heroes. And these are translating a little bit slow, but all this information is also available over here in the From Software press release. So let's talk about this. A co-op action survival game that reforms aspects of Elden Ring's game design into a brand new experience. This title is an action game where players cooperate to overcome a variety of challenging situations. While carrying over elements from Elden Ring, such as weapons and enemies, the game design has been reformed to provide players with a completely new gameplay experience. Players will choose from a cast of unique characters to face off against a new threat. Game overview. A rich and thrilling adventure awaits. A thrilling gameplay experience in which players can enjoy a fast-paced mix of RPG elements, such as a dungeon exploration and character leveling, paired with intense combat against powerful enemies. Players must work together to survive for 3 days within an expansive world. Players will need to prepare wisely by exploring the world and strengthening their characters in order to overcome the onset of night and the powerful night lords that await them on day 3. A world that changes every time you play. And this is why I'm thinking this might be more in line with a roguelike. Elden Ring Night Reign takes place in the land of Limveld. Players will feel a deep sense of accomplishment from not only overcoming challenging enemies, but the map itself. Strengthen your chosen character as you traverse the ever-changing world, with new key locations, enemies, and weapons awaiting you each time you play. That's basically what we do in roguelike games. The key to overcoming each of the Night Lords lies in how you explore the world and strengthen your character in preparation for the challenge ahead. Warriors standing against the night. 8 warriors, known as Nightfarers, have gathered to face 8 formidable threats. The ranks consist of a variety of characters, including swordsmen, witches, and other strange outlanders. All with unique abilities and backgrounds, these warriors wield powerful character skills and ultimate arts, such as a special dagger that creates weak spots in enemies, or the ability to summon a giant tombstone from below. These unique abilities offer an additional layer of strategy when facing enemies and allow players to enjoy a range of distinct playstyles. 3-player, single-player supported, planned release for 2025, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series XS, Xbox One, Smart Delivery, and Steam. And then the rest of this just talks about Elden Ring, and you know, what Elden Ring is all about. So a lot of stuff we get there. You know, that's a lot of information. That's everything that we saw over here. But the last time I was at this website on the top, that interview hadn't dropped yet. So let's go over to that and take a look at this, because this is brand new. An interview with the director about the concept and worldview of this work has been released. Please take a look if you're interested. Famitsu.com. The trailer released characters with a dim atmosphere from Elden Ring appeared, and we could see multiple players running around the field fighting what appear to be strong enemies, but the content has not been revealed. In this article, we will deliver an interview with Junya Ishizaki from Software, the director of Elden Ring Night Reign. The relationship between this work and Elden Ring, what the title Night Reign means, the content specialized for online cooperative play, and the game system in which 3 people survive for 3 days. Details of his work that players around the world are curious about are revealed here. So if Junya is the one that's leading this, that also means that Miyazaki is cooking up something else, which I love new IPs. Junya, he was involved in level designs for Dark Souls and in battles for Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and Elden Ring. He's served as director for Elden Ring Night Reign. Ishizaki is the name of the game in this article. An online title for 3 players. Towards the end of the development of Elden Ring, Miyazaki approached me and said, wouldn't it be interesting to try being a director soon? I was in charge of the battles in Elden Ring at the time. and I was thinking that it would be interesting to create a game with battles that had a larger flow based on the battles in Elden Ring, so I decided to do it. This game kind of seems like a spin-off of Elden Ring, but was it not made into a separate work because the idea was originally based on Elden Ring? But it was not. Because the game content this time will be challenging, I decided that it would be more interesting to focus resources on revamping the game design rather than creating everything from scratch. Also, when I started considering this project, I was still in the middle of developing Elden Ring, so I thought that Elden Ring had a richness that could be utilized in other games. Elden Ring Nightrign is an online cooperative survival action game in which 3 people aim to survive for 3 days, with a different game cycle than ever before. You can enjoy the robust combat that is characteristic of Elden Ring through team play, create a multiplayer session, and go on the adventure with 3 people. Yes, rather than calling it a mission or stage, you choose a boss that appears on the 3rd day and challenge it with 3 people. Each day has day and night, and the area you can explore narrows as time passes. At night, a boss battle begins, marking the turning point of the day. You can clear the game by defeating the final boss that appears on the 3rd day. Is cooperative play with 3 people necessary? This game is designed to be played by 3 people. On the other hand, we have made it possible to play alone, since there are people who ultimately want to enjoy the game at their own pace and depending on their mood at the time. Ultimately, we prioritize the freedom of the user to enjoy the game, and we made it possible to have options. However, as I said before, the game is designed to be played by 3 people and is difficult enough to be challenging even with 3 people, so please bear with us on that point. What will the game cycle be like? First, let me explain the map. There's a vast field, and there are bases and small dungeons and other elements to conquer. The placement of these is randomly changed every time you enter a session and is fixed for that session. In the bases and dungeons, there are enemies and treasure chests, and if you defeat an enemy, you get runes, which are so-called experience points, and in the treasure chests, there are weapons and items. There are various weapons available, but their strength and combat skills are random. During the day, you adventure, strengthen your character player, and equip yourself, and then challenge the boss at night. This cycle continues for 3 days in the game. It seems like you enjoyed new actions and multiplayer while experiencing the Elden Ring style. Ishizaki, that's right. We've tried to keep the control system largely the same as the Dark Souls series in Elden Ring, but the game rules have changed significantly, so I think the experience will be different from previous games. For example, when you encounter an enemy on the road, in the past it felt like a wall has appeared in front of you, but in this game it feels like I've found prey to strengthen my player, let's defeat it. I think it will be a different feel to the game, and I hope you enjoy it. Does the story and world setting of this game share anything with Elden Ring? It is a parallel world. The common point is that there once was a shattering war in the land between, and worlds and settings from Elden Ring appear, but other than that, it is a different story. Therefore, the mysterious settings in the story of Elden Ring will not be revealed. I did not want to distort the memories and thoughts of each user about the story of Elden Ring, so I made it a completely different story. I think that users who have played Elden Ring will feel it is fresh, and conversely, even if you have never played Elden Ring at all, I think you will enjoy this work. So does that mean that the player character of this work is not a fated person? Yes, that's right. The warriors who appear in this game are called Yoruwatari. Players can use 8 characters with fixed names and appearances. Each character is tied to something like a class and has different characteristics. Originally, I wanted to make this a game that you can play immediately after getting the game, so I made the characters fixed. However, in order to inherit one of the attractive elements of Elden Ring, that is the goodness of being able to enjoy various character builds, each character has elements, such as skills, that demonstrate special abilities and arts that are like so-called special moves. Each character has a very different feel, so I hope you will enjoy using them in various ways. Elden Ring also has battle techniques and the like, but it incorporates a pretty bold system. We believe that choosing how to fight is one of the best parts of an action game. We believe that systems such as skills and arts will fit well with the action nature of Elden Ring, so we've incorporated them. The characters have a certain Elden Ring vibe to them, but in a way they have a classic fantasy design. Since there will be a new lineup of characters, we are conscious of making them easy to get into. We wanted to create a design that has the atmosphere of Elden Ring, but it is different from the fated people and can be accepted as the protagonist of the game. Each character has some determined performance, and their initial equipment, skills, and arts are fixed. But we want you to be able to choose what you like at a glance. This also comes from the idea of wanting you to play the game right away. So each character is the protagonist. Each of these Nightwalkers have a set name. Yes, when I say names, I mean class or character name, like Tracker. Each character has a little story, and there are elements that tell you what kind of person they were and what they will gain from the end of the battle, and so on. The main focus of this game is the action, but I would like those who like stories to experience it as well. Enemies from Dark Souls also appear. Many of the strong enemies that appeared in Elden Ring make an appearance. Yes, the enemies during the day are basically the enemies from Elden Ring. The bosses from Elden Ring also appear, but not all of them. In particular, the demigods are strongly connected to the story of Elden Ring, so I'll keep it at a secret from here on out. That doesn't mean they won't appear at all. Also, enemies from the Dark Souls series will appear, but only a little. In terms of the setting, they are drawn from another world due to the influence of the King of Night, the original villain. In Elden Ring Nightrign, we value the sense of chaos that various things attack at night. In that sense, I thought it would be interesting to have enemies from another world appear, so I got permission from Miyazaki and Tanamura, the director of Dark Souls 2, and decided to have them appear. Please tell us why you decided on the flow of the game to survive 3 days and defeat a boss. This is an online cooperative game, but we wanted to value elements that allow you to play slowly, like in Dark Souls series and Elden Ring. Also, as mentioned earlier, we wanted to make it something that players can play immediately and to overcome the barriers between players in terms of game progress. So we came up with the idea of doing everything you can within the time limit to challenge the enemy. We had the image of making it a night theme. So as the day and night pass, a powerful boss appears, and the game moves closer to the climax, and you survive for 3 days. This was just right for one session of experience. Elden Ring is a game that requires you to steadily progress, but Elden Ring Nightrign takes advantage of that element and realizes a speedy strategy. How should I advance through the field? How should I defeat the enemy? I think the fun of thinking about various things as you progress through the game has been inherited from Elden Ring. We call it a short RPG within the development team, and we aim to create a dense game that condenses the fundamental fun of RPGs, such as exploration, character growth, and battles with strong enemies, into one mission. It seems like there is a wide range of strategies to conquer, but it seems like you'll have to worry about whether you should move together with your allies in the field or you should spread out. We place importance on each user being free to play according to their own playstyle. It's fine to work alone, searching for items and leveling up, to avoid pinches by acting as a companion, or to gather only when it's time to capture a base. We leave it up to players' choices. Even if each person plays as a lone wolf, they will always gather together to fight the boss that appears at night. It may happen that an ally who was completely out of sight during the day appears in a very strong state at night. Also, the runes obtained when defeating an enemy are given to each member of the party. So even if you fight without cooperating, the whole party will benefit in the end. That's dope. It's fine to go to a place with a good view together, or to go through a dungeon even though it may take time, or to split up and proceed. Choosing the route is also one way to play. That's right, there are places where there are mid-bosses that you can defeat to get powerful items, but they are still tough. I want you to avoid them or challenge them as you like. From what I saw in the trailer, the field had an atmosphere similar to Limgrave in Elden Ring. The atmosphere of the field has not been changed much from Elden Ring, but it is not exactly the same, and it has been arranged to be like this work. Also, there may be some surprising mechanisms in the field. I'm looking forward to that. There is a day and nighttime setting, and at night, a boss appears, but what happens if you lose the boss? The challenge for that session will be considered a failure, and the player will be returned to the hidden round table, the player's base. During the day, when HP reaches 0, the player will be on the brink of death, and if a certain amount of time passes in that state, they will die and respawn. However, during the night, if all 3 players are on the brink of death, the game is over. If they are on the brink of death, other players can rescue them. So if even one player survives, there is a chance of victory. I hope you enjoy that feeling of being on the edge. This sounds so fucking good. Can you rescue a dying ally? Yes, you can rescue a dying ally by hitting them with multiple attacks. In other words, you hit a fallen ally to save them. You can rescue allies from a long distance using a bow or magic, and you can rescue multiple allies at once with an area attack. Since the performance of attack actions lead to rescue, I think you can enjoy a wider range of play. I see. There's an element of rescuing allies, but due to the game's specifications, it seems difficult to play in a die and learn style, where you are defeated by the same enemy multiple times and try again. That may be the case for bosses that appear at night. The fact that you can't retry bosses in short cycles is a new attempt for us, and it's also something we're challenging ourselves with. On the other hand, in this game, the field itself is the target to conquer. So as you play it over and over, you learn how to conquer the field by using this build against this boss and exploring this route to do so. And eventually you'll feel a sense of accomplishment when you overpower the field. Regarding the leveling up element, does the level itself reset after each session? It will be reset every time you start with the initial equipment in level 1. Does the initial equipment mean the weapon that character is good at? Yes. Each character is equipped with weapons that suit their tendencies. By the way, since it's just the initial equipment, you can throw it away right away. Of course, I think the performance will be differing depending on the weapon you pick up, but does that mean the attack power will be different? There are 3 main points about weapons. First, the attack power is different. Naturally, the higher power, the greater the damage you will inflict on the enemy. The other is the combat technique, which is also in Elden Ring. Seems like our Ashes of War. Finally, there are additional effects. For example, there are buffs such as increased attack power of XX attribute and increased cut rate, as well as unique effects such as magic bullets are generated on the spot when dashing. Most of these additional effects are only active if you have them in your inventory. So if you open a treasure chest and find a bow, you might not intend to use the bow, but you might want to keep it because the additional effect is attractive. One of the unique pleasures of this game is that you can stack additional effects one after another. Is the equipment basically from Elden Ring? That's right. However, the performance itself has largely been improved to match the game's characteristics, so they tend to be more powerful than in Elden Ring. Consumable items in particular are quite different. For example, the flame pot explodes more spectacularly, so it has the potential to scatter a group of people like a grenade. Communication is a loose connection. As in Dark Souls series and Elden Ring, we want to value the loose connection that allows players to play freely and at their own pace without the need for excessive communication, which is a characteristic of the online elements in our previous worlds. And this work is developed with that idea in mind. There is no text chant or stamps. Basically, the communication is done with pings and gestures. Of course, you are free to use external voice chat tools and enjoy the game. As for pings, you can let the whole party know that you are going there by pointing a ping on the map. You can also point pins that have point pins on items that have fallen, so you can let them know that there's a good item here. We are aiming for communication that does not force players to do anything. I had to get a drink. From what you have said so far, it seems that this work is worthy of the expression short RPG, and it seems that you can enjoy surprises and discoveries like Elden Ring every time randomly and a solid battle. That is exactly what this game is aiming for. The places where you can find items change each time you play. You may encounter a powerful weapon in an unexpected place, or you may reunite with a weapon you used in Elden Ring, and you can enjoy a fresh and unexpected play every time. I think that each player's own drama will be born. You will be able to enjoy an experience that is only possible with the help of your companions, and I hope that will be the case. Once you have survived the 3 days, you will return to your base. I understand that you cannot take your equipment home with you, but is there anything you can take home with you? At the end of each session, you can take home a reward called marks, a currency that can only be used within the base, and equipment called relics. What kind of equipment are relics? If you're familiar with it, it may be easier to imagine the bloodstones from Bloodborne. Relics are things that give characters passive abilities. Each character has a pedestal on which they can set relics, and they can equip relics that fit that pedestal. The pedestal itself can be changed by purchasing it with marks. The effects of relics vary, but they range from simple stat boosts to strengthening character skills, arts, and normal actions. Customization using relics will greatly change the way you play. How long does one session last? Depends on how much time you spend on the boss battle, but the daytime hours are fixed. So it's estimated that it will take 40 minutes to clear the third day. Of course, if you were wiped out on the first day, the playtime will be shorter. 40 minutes to clear the third day? Wait, so it's like 40 minutes to clear up to day 3 or 40 minutes to get there? So if so, that means like one whole session would take an hour, which is kind of wild. By the way, are there any PvP elements? Not in this game. In order to emphasize the experience of 3 people somehow overcoming a larger number of challenges together, the online element is cooperative play. There is no intrusion by other players. Please tell us the reason for naming this game Elden Ring Nightrign. Reign means domination, so we decided on a straightforward title that evokes the idea of domination of the night. The sound of rain also connects to the word rain. In this game, the field area narrows over time, and the rain is what determines that range. We wanted to give the impression on that gameplay. I'm going to ask a mean question, but some people may see this game as a multiplayer game using materials from Elden Ring. What do you think about that? The basic premise of this title is that we started out with the idea of making a game that could only be made with the base of Elden Ring. Because of this base, we were able to focus on revamping the game design, expanding the action, and adding 8 characters with different personalities and 8 bosses that pose new threats. I think you will find a glimpse of this in the trailer, but when you actually play it, you'll find a unique flavor that is very different from Elden Ring and our previous titles. I hope you look forward to this freshness. So a lot of information there, a lot. But this kind of aligns with what I was saying earlier. This does very much sound like we are taking Elden Ring and we're essentially going to be turning it into a roguelike type experience where we pick our starting character, we play through, the field narrows, and eventually we would make our way to the boss. If we succeed, we're getting out with marks, which will become permanent upgrades for subsequent runs. If we die, we go back to the start and we do it again. I think this one's going to be kind of heated with some people, you know? This is going to be very, very different from what we've experienced before. Personally, I think this sounds awesome. I was talking the other day about doing an Elden Ring playthrough with like Diablo style loot where the loot's randomized, and this sounds like that, but as a whole ass experience. So this is honestly just looking absolutely amazing. So I'm going to take a little break here. I'm also going to do a full breakdown of everything we know in the trailer, but I'll have that go up as a second video. But I wanted to at least get one up that talks about everything I can find right now on the game, coming from sources directly attached to From Software, to bring y'all as much information as possible. What do y'all think? I think Nightrign sounds like it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. And then, you know, hopefully, I would hope we get, like, fingers crossed, a summer release, because that would be awesome, because the summer is always slow for games, and this would just be an absolute delight. So thanks for coming on by. Let me know what you think below. I'm going to have a separate video that's going to do a full breakdown of the trailer and kind of talking about some of these thoughts from the trailer and how they tie into everything that we're seeing. And I'll catch y'all on that video with that.